face all bright.
Welcome back, Duck Badger Radio on AM 950. I'm in a conversation here with Stephen Post. Stephen is the author of a book called The Hidden Gifts of Helping, How the Power of Giving, Compassion, and Hope Can Get Us Through Hard Times. And Stephen comes at it from both a personal perspective as well as from a science and research side, saying that there's some significant things that happen when people are in hard times and they're extending themselves to do something good for someone else. The jacket of the book, which is that the little promotion around the book, has this great phrase. And Stephen, I don't know if you wrote this or came up with it, but I think it's true about the book, and I think it says it really complements the book well. That the hidden gifts of helping, the book, will leave you with the unshakable feeling that the world can be a good place if we act to make it so. Did you write that, or was that a promo copywriting, or who came up with that idea?
I think I drafted that, and somebody may have edited it a little bit, to be honest.
Yeah, well, they did well. It's good collaboration. I mean, that's a great phrase, and I wondered what you meant from that. That it will leave you with the unshakable feeling that the world can be a good place if we act to make it so. Deep inside, I guess you assume that people have a desire for the world to be a good place.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All the nasty news gets repeated and repeated and repeated almost ad nauseum. Mm-hmm. But, boy, when you really look at it, there's an awful lot of love in folks' hearts.
Yeah.
One of the things I quote in the book is this great study that United Healthcare and Volunteer
It's a little local shop, that United Healthcare.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And they did a big study in 2010 on Americans in volunteering. Now, these are figures from 2009 from a big national survey. 41% of Americans volunteered, just an average of 100 hours a week, which is not a lot of time. That's 100 hours a year, which is about 2 hours a week. And if you look at it, 89% of them say that volunteering made them feel happier. 79% say that volunteering made them feel healthier. 92% say that volunteering made them feel that life is more meaningful. So when we look at the survey studies, which are really interesting, in these hard times, because remember, 2008, September was the big downturn.
Yeah, right.
2009, a lot of people are struggling, but the volunteer rates are actually going up. And it doesn't take a lot. It's not like you got to do this night and day. I mean, just a couple of hours a week doing something good for your neighbor in an organized way or even more informally seems to make people feel a lot better about themselves and about their futures.
Well, I think a lot of us have known that true at the anecdotal level in our own lives, and maybe we thought it was just us. So that's why it's good to have that kind of research that says, no, there's something more going on than just our own temperament or our own ideas. Now the book also mentions, and it's right up about you, and it's you've done a lot of things in your life, and you're quite accomplished. And then one of the phrases that it uses for you is that you are a public intellectual. What does that mean to be a public intellectual?
Yeah, because I usually like to keep my intellect private.
Yeah, that's John, the sidekick here on the show, and he's a secret intellectual.
Yeah, I don't let on that.
You would never know. What does it mean to be a public intellectual? How do you think about that?
Since about age 15, I've been really interested in these ideas around generosity and giving, and I do come out of a Christian background. I love this idea of a cheerful giver, and the notion that somehow it's better to give than to receive, and or at least as good, and so for me, all of life, I'm a University of Chicago PhD, so you'd think I'd have a real pointy hat,
Right.
but I don't. I do a lot of good research, but I love to write trade books that tell stories about inspiring individuals who overcome tremendous odds. In the book, there's a story of Brooke Ellison. Christopher Reeve did a movie about her life called The Brooke Ellison Story. She's quadriplegic. And, she's 28 now. I visit her every week in her home. And how does she handle her condition? Well, what she does is she goes out in a van with her mom, Jean, every week, and she visits somebody somewhere in the New York area, some young person who's had a similar injury. And she spends time with them, and she helps them realize that they can actually live their lives even from a wheelchair. And so the book is just full of stories of people I meet, and these are not fictional. These are just
Right.
everyday
They're just
people.
normal stories. Yeah, they're people's
Just
normal lives.
Stories. So the cynical idea that somehow, we don't have this in us, okay,
Right.
it can be easily overwhelmed by nasty hierarchies, by bad environments, by being too busy to take time. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't be somehow overshadowed, but boy, that kernel in us is very strong, and in hard times, we need to draw on it the most.
Yeah, the book is called The Hidden Gifts of Healing. You can pick it up everywhere. You can buy it. We're also going to give it away. This is one of the things we do here on the show, Stephen. People hear the authors and they think, I would love that book, and so we give it as a gift. So caller number three here over at the radio station, you call the 952-946-6205. Caller number 3, we're going to send you the copy of Stephen's book. Now, Stephen, you say giving, compassion, and hope are 3 of the engagements, 3 of the activities that people can endeavor into to help them through hard times. How did you land on giving, compassion, and hope? Why those 3?
Well, giving doesn't necessarily require a whole lot of compassion. You can be just helpful. I'm just talking about pretty routine things. The kid who does chores, who decides he's going to shovel your driveway in a snowstorm or whatever. Compassion is a kind of a deeper response to the suffering of other people. And hope is just key, because it turns out from all the studies that I'm doing that hope is really closely connected with this kind of generativity, this kind of giving. That when people are able to give and give freely and not be counting and calculating and limiting themselves unnecessarily, they actually do feel, it's interesting, they actually feel more optimistic and more hopeful about life.
Interesting. Well, if you know people who are going through hard times, I think this book would make a great gift. And Stephen, thanks for the book, and thanks for the thoughts. Where's your mind going now? What are you writing next? Do you have something? Do you have something stirring in you?
Oh yeah, I'm getting it going. It's funny. I went for a meditational walk this morning, and I've been thinking the last 4 weeks about the next project. And I think it's going to be something like the forgotten factor in healthcare reform.
Need to work on that title a little bit.
I know. But something like small acts show I care. In other words, everybody's talking, Doug, about rights to health care and rights to this. But when you get right down to it, the big complaint people have, I was in the hospital and I was treated like a kidney in room 3. I was the knee in the hallway. I was dehumanized, felt depersonalized, demonized. And, what people want to do is they want to recover this sense of healing care in their relationships with their physicians and health caregivers. And so that's the reform that we really need. And that doesn't just happen when you put a computer in every bedroom in a hospital. In fact, sometimes the clinicians get more focused on the computer, and they're not even making eye contact with their patients anymore.
Maybe efficiency isn't the only thing we need to improve in the healthcare world.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, thanks for your book.
It.
The book that you can pick up at every local bookseller is The Hidden Gifts of Healing: How the Power of Giving, Compassion, and Hope Can Get Us Through Hard Times. Stephen, thanks for the book, and thanks for being on the show.
Yep. Hidden Gifts of Helping. Yeah.
Hidden Gifts of Helping. Hidden Gifts of Helping. Thanks a lot, Stephen. Hey, we're going to be back here with a little segment on the Bible, so stick with us if you want to be in that conversation.
I had been to Iraq 8 times. I knew what the facts on the ground were.
The AM 950 movie night this Wednesday.
We watched our careful planning essentially discarded.
Discussion after the movie with the Iraq Peace Action Coalition, sponsors of Spring Actions to Bring the Troops Home Now on Saturday, March 19th.
There was absolute lawlessness.
We're in a transition period.
Stuff happens.
You had huge ammunition dumps that weren't guarded.
Top U.S. officials explain what went wrong in Iraq.
We never had a single armored Humvee while we were in Iraq.
Why don't we have those resources?
You go to war with the army you have.
We don't have enough troops.
The president called it guesswork. The president hadn't read it.
Life could be lousy. Life could be okay. Life could be